In this video, you're going to learn about all of the mind-blowing ways that Omega is revolutionizing timekeeping at the Paris 2024 Olympics. And you're going to learn not by watching, but also by doing as we ready, set, go into the best video ever! Elaine, hello.
Welcome.
You made a sign for me.
Of course. Welcome to Omega's timekeeping lab. This is where the magic happens. This is where we prepare for the Olympics.
1 month to go.
1 month to go, and I hope we will be able to give you a little bit of a better understanding of what we're doing as official timekeepers. And maybe you will never watch the Olympics the same way you did before after that.
This is going to be awesome. I have so many questions. This is going to be the best video you ever watch about Olympic timekeeping. Let's go.
So we're in the middle of our timekeeping laboratory. This is where all the technologies for timekeeping are invented, developed. This is where we produce all our sensors. This is where we have our camera technologies, our software, artificial intelligence, broadcast technologies. This is where everything comes together, and this is where we revolutionized sports for many years.
And there's also a story that we need to tell here, and I want to start that story. You and I are timekeepers in Los Angeles in 1932. There's images of a tiny little seated area on the finish line with a gentleman with a chronograph, stopwatch, for every single competitor. And this is literally how they timed the Olympic Games. Less than 100 years ago, people with Omega stopwatches on a finish line, literally stopping one watch each for each competitor. That's where the story begins.
That's indeed right. And when I'm asked what the greatest innovation was in Omega's almost 100-year history as official timekeeper, I'm used to say that it was this chronograph of 1932.
Yes.
That was the piece that Omega provided to measure the times of the athletes participating in the Olympic Games in Los Angeles. And Omega was chosen because at the time, Omega was the only company that could provide 30 certified chronographs accurate to the 10th of a second to measure these athletes' performance. So imagine the journey back then of that watchmaker that went with his 30 stopwatches in his suitcase from Switzerland to America, right?
Timing the whole Olympics in 1932. And that was 1/10 of a second. And now, in 2024, we are 1/1,000,000th of a second.
1 minute of a second, and obviously not deployed by one watchmaker anymore.
No.
So that whole...
I think it's 550
timekeepers deploying 350 tons of equipment. There's nothing done manually anymore. We're deploying highly sophisticated technology, a lot of computers, cameras, artificial intelligence, everything to capture every moment of an athlete's performance, making sure that we capture the results as soon as they cross the line.
Show me what is so special about the evolution of Olympic timekeeping specifically.
Our first clients are the athletes. Everything we do is for them. They train their entire lives. For most of them, just 10 seconds of competition. So they deserve the best technology. So we would obviously love to have you be an athlete for a couple of seconds and see how they utilize our equipment.
I'm so going to tear my hamstring. I can
feel
it.
We will make sure also. I'm sure you're going to do great. You need a little bit more time to warm up. Eventually.
No.
You sure?
I'm going through my preparations.
Okay, good.
Yep. I interviewed Usain Bolt, so I know exactly what to do.
Perfect.
Yep.
So, we're working hand in hand with starters. Starters are connected with a headset to the timekeeping room. As soon as both are ready, we'll have 2 green LED lights showing up. And the starter will be able to push that little button after the green lights show up. It's going to show blue. And when he talks into the microphone, the starter is connected to the sound system of a stadium.
Cool.
And I will be giving the start commands for you. Push the trigger, and then you'll have to run.
Okay.
Two more very interesting anecdotes on this gun. It was introduced in 2010 at the Vancouver Olympics for the first time. 2 reasons why the old powder guns have been replaced with these. Imagine a 400-meter start where athletes start in a turn. Back in times, the athletes further away from the gun heard the gunshot a little bit later
Yes.
than the athletes closer to the gun. So with the electronic start gun and the little loudspeakers
Everyone
on
gets
the,
it
on
exactly
the
at
back
the
of the
same
block.
time. Okay.
The other reason why it was important to develop an electronic starting gun, as you can imagine, while traveling through customs with a modified powder gun,
Yeah.
became a little bit more difficult in recent years.
I see. So you're actually taking all of the equipment to Paris?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
on the Eurostar.
we're on the obviously trying to have a sustainable approach on everything we do. 350 tons of equipment are going to come to Paris with the timekeepers around 10 days before opening ceremony. Going to set up everything, make sure that everything works, test in order to be ready about 2 days before opening ceremony.
That's going to be an intense few weeks. And that's only a few weeks away. You must be. Thank you for taking the time for us.
You can adjust the footrests the way you want. In position and inclination of the footrest. There is a little power sensor, pressure sensor here, positioned in the back, that measures your horizontal pressure 4,000 times per second. Very, very important, because in athletics, when you false start, you're immediately disqualified. So, according to the rules of the federations, if you react prior to 1/10 of a second after the gunshot, you're disqualified.
What's the best anyone's ever done?
Well, we're speaking about 7 something meters, so everything you're going to do below 2 seconds is going to be fine.
Do you mind if I just call Usain quickly? Can I just get a few tips from him?
course.
Okay, I'll be right back. All right, so left leg, then right leg, then left leg, then right leg, and go fast. Good. Okay, cool. Thanks. That's all good. Yep.
So important here, you have to jump out of the blocks.
Okay. So you're gonna like just.
So I'm, you're, yeah, but that's good. So the tension is growing. On your marks, set. I think you broke the record here. Well done.
Yes.
Well done. Well done. So this is the pressure curves that we produce for all athletes. So judges have access in case of false starts. They can see exactly which athlete eventually false started.
Did I false start?
The 0 here is the start. So this is your constant pressure. 0 is the start. And you see here how the pressure on the blocks increase. So we know you reacted, and your reaction time is about, it's very good, 163 milliseconds after the gunshot. And you were pushing with 248 Newton,
Right.
25 kilos on the blocks, which is pretty
And
good.
he's 280
280 kilos.
Holy moly. Okay. Elaine, I'm going to put my jacket back on. I just had a protein bar because, you know, I'm an athlete now. There are 32 sports at the Olympics. How nuanced and individualized is the timekeeping technology and strategy for each sport?
Every sport is different. So we have solutions for over 100 different sports. Only 32 of those are Olympic disciplines. But every sport is different in terms of equipment and how we operate that equipment. This is one of the things that we put in athletics inside the athletes' bibs, in the start numbers. That allows us to track their entire performance between start and finish.
So we could have had one of these in our suit jacket, and then we could compare whether we were faster than Fratello.
That's absolutely right.
course.
That's absolutely right.
I'm a tad competitive, Elaine.
This is a very, very fantastic device because we're measuring about 2,000 data points in athletics only per athlete per second.
Wow.
So it allows us to have their instant speeds, their position, acceleration, deceleration.
So all those people that have an Aura ring or a Whoop band, and you love to look at your little data, imagine if you had one of these.
That's right. Nowadays, we're not only having a very accurate understanding of everything related to start and finishes, but also about the entire athlete's performances thanks to these sensor technologies. And this allows us to explain how the athletes got to their final results and explain where they gained or lost time or points and eventually why they won a gold medal. You know, athletes are training their entire lives to perform at their best at the Olympic Games. And
That's a huge responsibility.
part of what we do is trying to explain fans around the world how great these performances actually are, which is why the storytelling part is actually kind of important to us. What we're trying to do with this is putting the data that we measure in context, so that we have all historic information from athletes collected, and eventually be able to share some tendency on who has the best chances to win. We're collecting then data throughout a race, not only of all athletes related to their speed, acceleration, deceleration, but we're having now a very detailed understanding of the biomechanical movements of the athletes, counting steps, counting
Good Lord.
acceleration. And we can then have a very accurate understanding of the entire athlete's performances throughout a race and compare them with each other.
And this is going to enrich the viewer's experience of the Olympics. So is this going to be communicated in the coverage? Are we going to see this extra, this is like Minority Report, you know, you've got all these extra layers of data. Is that going to come through in the coverage?
We're going to provide special graphics with special metrics to broadcasters, and it's then going to be their decision whether to pick it up or not. Athletes and coaches are going to be given access to this data in case they're interested. With the athletes that we worked with during the development process of these technologies, they were absolutely thrilled, and coaches as well, because they could identify patterns that allow them to eventually tweak the training sequences of the athletes to improve some of their performances in the future.
What have been the real key beats and moments that bring us to 2024 for the history of Olympic timekeeping?
With pleasure. Los Angeles in 1932, everything was done manually. And this manual timekeeping, although electronic timekeeping started to pop up until the early 60s, manual timekeeping was always used as main timekeeping system, and electronic timekeeping is backup. During that time, Omega has invested a lot in developing electronic technologies, photocells, photo finish cameras that popped up in early 50s. And these photo finish cameras were absolutely amazing. Big pieces of camera with still the films in there. So a timekeeping room always had a dark room attached to it for the timekeepers to go, take the film out of the camera, to the dark room, develop it, and then read.
It's quite a long time to wait for that photo finish result to come.
Up to 2 hours. Can you imagine?
Take it down to the chemist.
Up to 2 hours. That's right. And nowadays, you will see later, we are judging photo finish pictures in just a couple of seconds. So it took about 20 years for electronic timekeeping to be replacing manual timekeeping. And there was an incident in 1960 in Rome. It was the 100-meter final, swimming, freestyle. Two athletes finished with the same average time. And the head judge decided to award one of them with the Olympic gold medal and the other with the Olympic record. So following this event, the International Swimming Federation contacted Omega and asked whether they could develop a technology that would replace human reaction times and obviously then consequent controversies that could eventually happen. 7 years later, at the World Championships in swimming, Omega introduced the famous touchpads, first time used in 1968 in Mexico. And these touchpads were absolutely amazing because it made swimming the first sport where athletes would stop their times themselves. There is a second sport now in the Olympic program, we'll talk about it later, where athletes also stop their time themselves. But in 1960, that was groundbreaking. So that was really the moment where manual timekeeping was replaced by electronic timekeeping and essentially eliminated human reaction times and human mistakes and captured moments one could not see with the naked eye. Another interesting event was the Olympic Games in 1964. because it was considered to be the first televised Olympics, globally televised Olympics. And for those Olympics, this a lot of people don't know that. Omega developed a device that was called Omegascope. And for the first time, fans around the world watching TV could see a graphical element inserted in the broadcast.
Right.
Throughout the years, a lot of innovation. Obviously, technology became smaller, so we could miniaturize. We could start having transponders on athletes to understand a little bit more who they are and where they are. We had the electronic starting gun that showed up in 2010, Omega's quantum timer measuring up to a millionth of a second. And another turning point is a little bit more recent one, was in 2018 in Pyeongchang, where Omega introduced for the very first time motion sensors and positioning systems like the small little device I showed you before. And that allowed us really to have an accurate understanding of athletes' performances between start and finish and tell stories now about their entire performances.
All right, Alain, less numbers, more action. I'm ready for the next challenge. You got something for me to do?
Absolutely. You're done with being an athlete for just the visit.
It's so disappointing.
We will make sure you get the full Timekeeper's experience now. So we're going to put you in the shoes of a timekeeper.
I'm already feeling stressed.
And it's going to be all about photo finish.
Okay.
It is the only device that is used to provide official times of athletes in all sports where there is a finish line. What it does is it captures differences one could not see with the bare naked eye. In athletics, the frontest part of the torso is used to provide the final athlete's time. So it's this triangle here that is used, which is why you always see the athletes leaning forwards when they cross the finish line.
So it's not the first part of their body to cross the finish line?
It's the frontest part of the torso. So it's not the head, not the arm. Every sport is different though.
Yeah.
In cross-country skiing, it would be the frontest part of your body. So it would be
your foot.
Usually the foot.
Yeah.
In alpine skiing, you see the athletes, throwing themselves forward with the arms in front to cut the cells. So it's the frontest part of the body.
I did not know that.
Cycling track is also very interesting. It would be the center of the wheel. So every sport is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Here, very interesting. It's very clear who won. The one athlete
Where's the
on the right.
finish line out of all those lines?
It's all this. The finish line is the whole picture. So you need to imagine that the camera that we're going to deploy for the first time in Paris, the new one, is taking 40,000 pictures of the finish line through time.
Right.
So the camera takes not a wide angle, it takes a very narrow angle, many times per second, and stitches the images next to each other. So what you're seeing is not a wide angle picture.
This isn't the line.
Everything is the line.
I'm struggling with
So
this.
what you
Everything is the line.
Everything is the line. So you see here the time.
Yeah.
So you're seeing what's happening on the finish line through time. Here's the interesting thing here in that photo finish. You have 4 athletes having the same time, 10:18.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can clearly see that one crossed the line quicker than the others.
Yes.
You see these 4 different lines, which
And
is
again,
why
it's not their body, it's their torso.
exactly, which is why you would have different ranks, because in athletics it's not the time that matters most.
No.
It's the rank.
It's the rank, yeah.
Let me show you how it works practically. This is a permanent picture of what's happening on the finish line. So we simulate the finish line over here. We have a photo finish camera over there.
God, yes.
So if you're looking at the concept, when I put my hand on the line, you will see my fingers, right?
Oh my God,
so the
that's
camera
so
takes permanently pictures of that little couloir I was saying before. So if I take my hand away, it's
Can I
like
make
this.
a permanent Omega one with my watch?
It will stretch, you will see.
Okay, that's a Seamaster 300. Just permanently stretching.
Okay, so if I'm walking over the finish line, you will see a
similar tiny little shoes.
a similar picture than the one you had. But I'm now speaking about tiny little shoes. I'm going to make my shoes longer now.
Okay.
So, and I'm going to do that like this.
Wow. Oh, I see you went on the line, which is this part that's stretched.
Exactly. So my foot stayed on the line longer than the rest of my body.
Yes.
So let's cross the line together.
Okay.
All right.
We're going to try and have a photo finish?
Yes.
Okay. Are we going to walk or run?
As you wish.
Just walk.
As you
Okay,
wish.
cool.
Let's go. Here you go.
Look at your tiny little high heels.
So very important here. In case of close finishes that as we saw before, one athlete may be covered by another one. So we use different cameras from both sides of the track in different angles to make sure to capture every moment on the finish line. So the same as in athletics before, where we simulated the start of a race, we are always working hand in hand with judges. We're providing technology and our timekeepers to operate the technology, but it is always going to be federation officials to officialize the results. It's also the case when we judge photo finish pictures. So imagine a 100-meter final at the Olympic Games. You're the timekeeper.
I don't have to imagine it, I'm doing it.
That's right. You're the timekeeper in charge.
Yep.
You have billions of people watching. Everything they want is to get the result of the race as soon as possible. And they're waiting for you to press that OK button. And as soon as you press it, results are published.
There's no turning back.
And there's no turning back.
What are we going now?
So 4 new sports in Paris.
Yep.
Skateboard, breaking, surfing in Tahiti.
Yes.
And climbing. And climbing is a fascinating new sport because it's now the second sport.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Where
Speed
athletes,
climbing. It's absolutely
that's right.
wild.
And with climbing, there's another fascinating things that is happening because we use touchpads similar than in swimming, so that the athletes can stop their times as soon as they reach the top of the wall. So it makes climbing the second sport after swimming where athletes can stop their times themselves. All right, so I'm going to show you a little bit of more innovation for Paris. As we've seen before in climbing, we are tracking the performances of athletes. And we're going to do exactly that with you. So I invite you to stand over here, and you're going to be captured by 3 cameras.
Back in my comfort zone, I'm just a Oh, hey, look at the green guy. YMCA. And you're there too, Marcus.
So as you can see, we're capturing all of your movements. So in beach volleyball, we're tracking athletes. We can measure how high you jump, how you block, how you pass, how you smash, and every single movement is captured for statistics purposes. And this is exactly right in tennis. We're going to use that technology for the very first time. And what we're going to measure is reaction times of players after serve. And there is an anecdote on this. You remember the great times of Boris Becker, who was one of the best one of the best serves. And Andre Agassi, who had one of the best returns. You know the story of these 2 players when they were playing against each other?
Oh, he knew the tell from the tongue.
That's exactly right. So Andre Agassi spotted Boris Becker.
His tongue would point to where the ball was going to go.
Exactly. And he only revealed that at the end of their careers. And everyone was wondering why Boris didn't go through with his serve playing against Agassi. So what we're doing here for the first time...
But it can't see my tongue on there.
No, but it does a lot more. It captures your reaction time. So we capture when the serve players is hitting the ball, the reaction time of the opponent, and we will use that data to correlate the quality of the return with the reaction time of the player. And we'll be able to have information that were never there before. The same technology is used in swimming, so we can measure the number of strokes, instant speeds, time underwater. We'll be using it in gymnastics to analyze the athletes' performances, the jumps, their execution of the jumps, and how it actually will look in diving. I'm going to show you in a second.
Amazing. Wow.
So as you can see, we capture every movement of an athlete. And in diving, there is one particular metrics that is extremely important. It's the distance between the head and the board. If that distance is too small, there could be a deduction of points in the athlete's score.
Or a severe knock to the athlete's head, like regular
That's
games.
right. So it is called safe dive. So far, athletes were looking at this with their naked eye.
Yeah.
For the first time, they will have access now to this information and a very accurate distance between head and board, which will allow them to have a more informed decision. And we go all the way, the entire performance, up to the moment the athlete would dive in the water, measuring angles, alignments. We can then take the various sequences of the jump and have very detailed analysis of every single phase of the performance.
Is this going to impact on the way judges judge the Olympics?
The short answer of this is yes. So the same way electronic timekeeping replaced manual stopwatches, eliminated human reaction times, and made sport a little fairer to the athletes, and in particular measuring performances these timekeepers at the time with manual stopwatches couldn't see with their naked eye. This is doing exactly the same thing in sports where scores are judged by judges. So it's going to be used as a help for them.
So they're going to have this data.
To make the right calls.
Interesting.
And it's, we're at very early days.
Did they have that in the previous Olympics, do you think?
No. It's the first time at the Olympics in
Wow.
Paris.
So I guess to some extent, in the same way that you've taken the human reaction time out of the Olympics that we had in 1932 to now, we're taking the human eye component out of a judge's assessment and looking more at an analysis, a visual analysis.
Yes, and it's about giving them technical support to make the right calls. Shall we speak about swimming?
Oh, I'd love to.
As Australian,
I've been
swimming
waiting.
must be one of the favorite sports you're following, is it?
It's the only way we get our medals. Yep.
So this is a typical installation for swimming. So we have a starting block. So same as you saw in athletics, working very similarly. So we
These
also
look like
here
real starting blocks because
These
they
are
have grooves in
It's
the
a real starting block. So same as in athletics, athletes could adjust their foot rests according to what they feel most comfortable with. Every sport has different rules. We touched on it a little bit before. In athletics, we were measuring your reaction time while you were pushing on the blocks. Here in swimming, according to the rules, we have to measure the release pressure. So we also have a little sensor, but we use it to measure a different data set according to the sport rules. Little loudspeakers in the back of the starting block as well, same as in athletics, to make sure the athletes hear the gunshot at the same time. And we have the famous touchpads.
I've always wanted to feel what this feels like. Does it feel exactly like that?
It's exactly the same type of touchpads that you will see in Paris during the Olympics.
Yeah.
Athletes would have to push between 1.5 to 2.5 kilos anywhere on the pad.
Is it anywhere on the wall or just on the pad?
Anywhere.
Anywhere on the wall?
Anywhere.
Okay.
They can push here, they can push in the center, on the top, on the bottom, doesn't matter where. And this slight push of 1.5 to 2.5 kilos is extremely important for them to do in order to finish the race. And this is also according to the rules of the International Federation and is needed because we want to avoid that the waves produced by the athletes while they're swimming is stopping the time instead of themselves.
Man, I've just got memories of so many finishes where they, when they're trying to time their stroke to perfectly,
Yes.
and their push.
There's one of the most famous races in history is probably the one in 2008 at the Olympics, where Michael Phelps won one of his gold medals by 1/100th of a second over Milorad Kavic. 1/100th of a second is the tip of a fingernail in swimming.
Right.
That's how close that race was. Wow. And it was thanks to this technology that we could really identify who actually finished the race first.
So you don't have a photo finish with swimming?
We don't have a photo finish in swimming, as they're not crossing the wall while they swim. However, we do use camera technology as a backup system. So we have cameras installed on top of the roof of the pool that are not only used as a backup system for timing, but also to check relay takeovers.
Oh, yes, yeah. Cool.
I have one more thing for you.
Excellent. This is like a decathlon, truly. This looks very Swiss.
It looks very Swiss. It looks very Swiss, and actually the bells are produced in a little town next to Courgemont in a foundry, and those are the last lap bells, where it dates back to the Bronze Age, right? And they were used in Olympic competitions as soon as the rules said that one had to indicate when athletes had to run a last lap. So we're going to use
So they
these
still use bells for the last lap?
For the last lap. It would be easy to change this into an electronic sound. But we have almost a 100-year history with Omega at the Olympic Games as official timekeeper, and this is also a testimony to our past. And here you can see the bell
this is
for
the
Paris.
Bell. Yeah.
Exactly.
Should we hear it? Alain, thank you so much for...
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for coming over.
Absolutely comprehensive and exhaustive tour of not only where we've come from, but where we're going with Paris 2024. I kind of want to get started now. I'm going to be counting down to the Olympics. It's going to be game on.
Same for us. 1 month to go. We're in our starting blocks. It's not the last lap, but the home straight we're in. We can't wait. We can't wait to start.
Hey, if you've watched this far in the video, then you've clocked our watches and you probably want to know their story. I'm wearing a Seamaster 300. Alain, you are wearing what looks like a gold Planet Ocean chronograph. That is an accurate watch for an accurate man. Thank you again so much for showing us around.
Thanks for coming over.
See you in Paris.